There was something she had never said out loud, not to her friends, not to her family, not even to herself. It lived quietly in the corners of her mind, like a thought that appeared late at night and disappeared again before morning. For years, she convinced herself it didn't matter, that it was just one of those strange passing feelings people sometimes have. But deep down, she knew that wasn't true, because some thoughts don't fade. They wait, and the longer they stay hidden, the louder they become. It started long before that night, long before she realized how much it had grown inside her. Back then, it was small, just a moment of curiosity she quickly pushed aside. She told herself it meant nothing. Everyone has random thoughts, she thought. Everyone imagines things they never act on. So she buried it. And life moved on. Days turned into months. Months turned into years. She built routines, made decisions, and lived her life exactly the way people expected her to. On the outside, everything looked normal, but sometimes, when the world became quiet and she was alone with her thoughts, that hidden desire would return. Not loudly, just enough to remind her it was still there. And every time it appeared, she would do the same thing, ignore it. Until the night everything changed. It wasn't a dramatic night. There were no loud arguments or shocking events. In fact, it looked like one of the most ordinary evenings she had experienced in a long time. That was the strange part. Nothing seemed different. The air outside was cool. The city lights shimmered quietly in the distance, and the world moved at its usual pace. Yet something inside her felt unsettled. At first she thought it was just stress. Maybe she was tired. Maybe she had simply been thinking too much. But the more she tried to distract herself, the stronger the feeling became. It was as if the thought she had hidden for so long had finally grown tired of being ignored, and tonight it wanted to be heard. She stood near the window, watching the faint reflections of lights across the glass. Her mind drifted somewhere deeper than she expected. Why was she thinking about it again? After all this time, she hadn't allowed herself to explore that thought in years. Every time it tried to surface, she buried it beneath logic, responsibility, and the simple promise she had made to herself long ago. Don't go there. That was the rule. But rules become fragile when curiosity appears. And curiosity had quietly returned. She felt it in the way her thoughts slowed down, in the way her heart seemed to carry a strange tension she couldn't explain. It wasn't excitement. It wasn't fear. It was something more complicated. A quiet pull towards something she had always refused to understand. For a moment, she tried to laugh it off. "This is ridiculous," she whispered to herself. But even as she said it, she knew she didn't fully believe it, because the thought refused to leave. Instead, it grew clearer, sharper. And suddenly, she realized something that made her chest tighten slightly. The desire she had buried all those years wasn't gone. It had simply been waiting for the moment she was tired enough, quiet enough, honest enough with herself to finally acknowledge it. She closed her eyes for a second, hoping the feeling would fade. But when she opened them again, it was still there. Stronger now. More real. The strange part wasn't the desire itself. It was the realization that she had spent so many years pretending it didn't exist. Why had she been so afraid to even think about it? Was it guilt? Was it fear of change? Or was it the possibility that if she truly admitted it to herself, something in her life might never feel the same again? Her thoughts raced through questions she had avoided for years. And for the first time, she stopped fighting them. That was the moment everything shifted. Because once a person stops resisting their own thoughts, they start listening. And when she listened, she discovered something that surprised her. The desire she feared wasn't reckless or wild like she had imagined. It was quiet, honest, and strangely human. It wasn't asking her to destroy her life or make a dramatic decision. It was simply asking to be acknowledged, to exist without being buried under shame or denial. She leaned against the window, breathing slowly as the realization settled inside her mind. All those years, she had been afraid of something that wasn't as terrifying as she thought. But the real danger wasn't the desire itself. It was what might happen now that she had finally admitted it existed. Because some truths are powerful. Once you recognize them, you can't pretend they were never there. And that night, standing alone with her thoughts, she understood something she had avoided her entire life. The most complicated battles we fight are not with the world. They are with the quiet desires we hide from ourselves. And once those desires are finally spoken, even if only in the silence of our own mind, nothing inside us ever feels exactly the same again.